and deadly, horrible, actually. When you look at what's happening with Russia and Ukraine, the drone is killing tremendous numbers of people. You hide behind a tree and the drone comes down and it circles you with fire. You don't have a chance. The tree comes down also, by the way. It's so intense. I mean, you see these trees being knocked down like they're being sawed down by a top-of-the-line timberman like, you know, who? Sean Duffy. Do you know that Sean Duffy, the head of the Transportation Department, who's working right now on the airports and getting a system because Biden didn't do a thing for 4 years, and Pete Buttigieg was the head, and he goes bicycling to work. He takes a bicycle to work. Can you believe it? He's running the biggest air system in the world, and he takes a bicycle to work. And they say he's going to run for president. I don't see it. Who knows, right? But I don't see it. But when I look at what they've done, it's so horrible what they've done. And the work they did do, they wasted billions of dollars. They're trying to hook up air systems to copper, and they tried to hook up copper to glass, and the glass doesn't work with the copper. And they had 30,000 different contractors doing 30,000 jobs. And when they put it all together, they spent billions of dollars. It didn't even come close to working. And we're going to be giving out a brand new system. It's very important. We'll have the best system, and we think we know who that system is. But we have a lot of bidding. But we want one check. We want a unified system. We don't want to have 5,000 contractors in all different places. Some digging ditches and some not doing ditches because they want to go by satellite. Satellite seems to be the way to go. But so we're going to be giving that out pretty soon. But what people don't know about Sean, because I mentioned lumberjacks, that Sean. You probably didn't know this. That I'm not talking about this Sean. This Sean, no, not this is not. This is a different Sean. Sean Duffy, the head of transportation. He's a great Sean, though, I have to tell you. But Sean Duffy was the world champion for 5 years, climbing trees and down, up and down, world champion. So that's what you call a serious lumberjack, and he's doing a fantastic job too. A really respected guy and a terrific guy. And I mentioned the champion because. When somebody's a champion, he's the world champion for a long time. He came down, when you come down those trees, coming down at a rapid, he said that started getting you back. You will often break your back. You miss a shot and you're coming down a lot faster than the human body was meant to come down. But he's doing a fantastic job at transportation. But this has been a very historic trip. I watched some of the people talking about it, and even what I would perceive as enemies of ours, people that are not fair from the press.
He seems to talk an awful lot about people breaking their backs, like the farmer not too long ago, that if you break your back, you just die. I wonder if that's what happens when people fall down the stairs.
Bro, I swear to God, this... Sept!
Bitch, get the back, don't touch me, bitch.
This is
happy for me. She's happy for look, she's happy.
Music, so here's another one. When peace protected by violence is accepted, is it peace or is it power that you're for? And if Jesus said it, you say don't dare disrespect it. I think Jesus might be knocking at your door, 'cause the people in power are making clear by the hour that we're fighting in a race when no one wins. 'Cause the president's a rapist and the cabinet is making it's from a playbook of malicious incompetence. What do you stand for? What do you preach? What do you practice? And what do you teach? On stolen land for centuries. I feel a karma, it's a coming, and I can't help but a wondering, do you see?
Canceled because I feel sometimes as an American who's lucky enough to live in Canada that when I hear Canadians complaining about this, that, or the other thing, it comes off as so entitled. And I find sometimes, yes, it's great to be upset about things and want to create change, but when there's this constant dogging on Canada, like, it upsets me so much because it feels like it's coming from such an entitled place. If you live in Canada, you have won the global lottery, okay? Whether you're born here or a newcomer, if you are lucky, or even on a temporary foreign work permit, if you live here and for whatever reason, you are part of a very small number of people in the entire world, 41 million people out of 7 or 8 billion, who get to live in a country with, it's incredibly well run. It has a kind, human-focused society, incredible, like probably one of the best natural resources. It's the second biggest country in the world. It's far up in the northern hemisphere, so it's pretty much well prepared for climate change, assuming there aren't like insane viruses in the permafrost. The mining, the logging, the oil and gas, like, we don't know what is going to happen with humanity in the next 100, 500 years with climate change. Like, human civilization could collapse. To be in Canada is such a blessing. And there are things that every society and every government could work on. But this constant, Canada's broken, Canada's, destroyed, all this, it's like, comes from such a whiny, entitled place that, like, as somebody who comes from America and now lives in Canada, I just, frankly, I do not think Canadians really understand what day-to-day life is like in the United States and how stressful and frankly scary it is. When I was living in the US, everywhere I went in Chicago, especially, I scanned for the emergency exits because you never knew what was going to happen if you were going to be present when there was a mass casualty event. I had coworkers who were, they didn't get injured, but they were at the Las Vegas Country Music Festival mass casualty event. And, I've talked on here about like different close calls or tangential things that have happened that my family or me has been close to. And like, I've never shared this on this app before, but I was in a building in East Humboldt Park in Chicago on the first floor that was shot at 18 times. they shot up the brick wall. So there wasn't any windows on that side, and none of the bullets pierced the brick or the concrete blocks. And when I called 911, they asked, was anybody struck or was anybody injured? I said no. And they said, okay, thanks, and hung up on me. Yeah, and they never came and took a report because nobody was struck, because it's just it's that normalized. And it's really only an emergency or a problem if somebody's injured, because it was like a Saturday night in Chicago. And we rolled off the couch and crawled on our stomachs into the basement, because the apartment that I was in was like a duplex apartment, so it was the first floor in the basement. And plenty of other stories. So when I hear people complain about Canada, I just can't. It's really been upsetting me lately when I see content on TikTok that's just, or politicians like Pierre Poilievre shitting on Canada. Do you understand how lucky you are to live here? So lucky.
I'll show you how to free up a lot of memory on Samsung, Xiaomi, Tecno, Redmi, Poco, or really, it doesn't matter what smartphone you have, as long as it's a smartphone. I'm about to show you how to clear a lot of memory on your smartphone. And the coolest part is, you don't have to delete anything. So your apps, everything will stay right where it is. We're not going to delete anything, not photos or anything else. But then you might ask me, how do you clear up memory? Guys, there's a useful life hack. If you're watching this video on TikTok, here's what you need to do. And if, by chance, any of you don't have TikTok on your phone, go ahead and download it. Next, open TikTok. You might ask me, how are clearing memory and TikTok connected? Guys, it's actually really simple. TikTok takes up a lot of storage space. Open TikTok, tap on the search bar, and type a period. You'll see an option pop up, View Watch History. Go in, and here you'll see a bunch of videos you've watched over the past 6 months. All of them take up space. So, tap Select, choose Select or Watch History, and then tap Delete. Confirm the action. Great, now your history is clean, and you've freed up a lot of storage. But that's not all yet. Go to the 3 dots in your profile and tap Settings and Privacy. Scroll down, guys, and here you'll see the Offline Video section. Go in here and make sure you don't have any downloaded videos. Very often, as you can see, many people have downloaded videos that take up a lot of space. Then go to Free Up Space and see how much cache you have stored. All of this needs to be cleared to free up memory. I do this every 2 or 3 days, so I don't have much taken up. But you might have several gigabytes here. By the way, let me know in the comments how much space was taken up for you. That's all from me. Right.
I'm a U.S. history teacher, and I want to tell you something they don't say enough in textbooks. The United States didn't just drift into civil war. We collapsed into it because democracy failed. Not in 1861 when Abe Lincoln took office, but in the 1850s when our government stopped functioning, our institutions broke down, and people decided power mattered more than principle. And if that sounds familiar, it should. This is part 1 of a series about the fragility of democracy and the moments in American history when democracy stood on the edge of a cliff. And if we don't understand how it cracked then, we won't see how it's cracking now. In the 1850s, the United States became politically ungovernable. Every compromise between North and South was unraveling fast. Congress was paralyzed, slavery was expanding into the Western territories, and the nation was on fire, literally, starting with the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854, which was based on the idea of popular sovereignty. That means the people should decide whether the new state would be slave or free. And it repealed the Missouri Compromise of 1820, which had basically held the country together for a few decades. In doing so was much like throwing a litch mat into a pile of dry brush. Pro-slavery and anti-slavery settlers rushed into Kansas trying to tip the vote. That led to Bleeding Kansas, a mini civil war before the real one even began. Now imagine this, the president at the time, Franklin Pierce from New Hampshire, I might add, a free state, basically shrugged. His administration endorsed the pro-slavery side, even when they rigged elections and committed violence. The Supreme Court? No help at all. In 1857, they handed down the Dred Scott decision, one of the worst decisions ever rendered by the court, which basically ruled that Black people, enslaved or free, had no rights under the Constitution, none. As a matter of fact, it said enslaved people were actually property. That ruling invalidated laws passed by Congress and state governments to restrict slavery. It was the court saying, your vote doesn't matter, your laws don't matter. This system belongs to the powerful. Ringing any bells yet? When democratic systems stop reflecting the will of the people, people stop believing in them. That's exactly what happened. The Republican Party was born in this moment, not as the party of Lincoln yet, but as a coalition against the expansion of slavery and against the power of the slaveholding elite. And the response? Violence. I don't know if you've ever heard this story. If you have, let me remind you. In 1856, a Southern Congressman, Preston Brooks, walked into the Senate chamber and beat abolitionist Senator Charles Sumner of Massachusetts with a cane until he was unconscious. It took him 3 years to heal and return to his seat in the Senate. The North was horrified, as they should be. The South sent Brooks new canes engraved with messages like, "Hit him again." This was America's political climate just 5 years before the secession of the Southern states from the Union. Government no longer worked, compromise no longer existed, and faith in democracy was gone. And on tyranny, Timothy Snyder reminds us, institutions don't protect themselves. They fall one after another unless each is defended from the beginning. In the 1850s, nobody defended them. The system cracked, and a brutal war came next. And here we are in 2025. Trump is back in office, the Supreme Court has gutted democratic protections, and one political party is openly threatening to jail their opponents, rewrite the Constitution, and rig elections to hold power indefinitely. This is not a new episode. This is a bad rerun. So what do? Well, we need to learn from history. We need to learn this history, not just so we can know things, but so we can recognize the playbook. We need to understand how democracy unravels, because it doesn't happen all at once. Share this series, talk about it, teach it, especially to the people who think it can't happen here. We've been here before, and we barely made it out the last time.
Hitler led a coup against the German government that ended up being called the Beer Hall Putsch. He was tried and convicted for this, became a felon, which he claimed was a political move from the Socialist Democrats, and he started a campaign about how he was for the working German and how educators were poisoning German minds against Germany and that he was going to make Germany great again. And he became chancellor on January 30th of 1933. He promptly forgave all the people who participated in his Beer Hall Putsch, giving them medals of honor, and then started prosecuting, persecuting, and killing all of the law enforcement who resisted his coup. By April 7th of 1933, he passed what was called the Law for the Restoration of Public Service, which rolled back work protections, allowing all public service to discriminate against women and people of color, and only people who were of Aryan descent who pledged loyalty to Hitler could work in public service. Now, he was able to control the government by making oligarchs part of his head of government, and he demonized minorities, saying it's us versus them. He chose the Jews because they were a relatively small minority, and the LGBTQ community, which was thriving in Germany in the 1920s, include having the first trans surgical clinic that the Nazis burned to the ground. They also banned and burned any books that they considered degenerative or immoral, which just means that they acknowledged that gay people and trans people are real and talked about their experiences. They also burned and canceled any book that discussed classism. Within the first year, he was able to roll back civil liberties basically entirely. And because he felt that manhood was under attack from these independent German women, protections for women were rolled back in the public sphere, especially reproductive rights, and doctors who administered abortions could get the death penalty. Women were told your life is your country, your family, and your home. And very shortly after that, laws were passed to restrict women to simply life in the home, because obviously men don't want to compete against women in the public sphere. And members of the LGBTQ community, in addition to being demonized the same way that the Jews were packed up and shipped to concentration camps, especially gay men, since it was thought that lesbians could be forced to reproduce. And I say all that to say that then the German army was militarized against the German people and anyone who decided to do the right thing and protect these minority groups. And now Pete Hegseth is talking about sending the Marines into LA for violent protests so violent, in fact, that my friends in LA, in certain neighborhoods, didn't know the protests were happening until they saw it on social media. There's no violence. It's a claim to cause martial law, and if Gavin Newsom stands against them, he will likely be arrested. Because Donald Trump also just signed an executive order taking over the National Guard to bring the National Guard in whether Gavin Newsom wants them or asks for them or not. It is a ploy to impose martial law, to use the military against citizens. There is no reason that active military should be against citizens exercising their rights.